Welcome to Behind the Story, where we discover the story behind your favourite stories. My name is Lisa Renee from the Collab Press, and I'm also a rom-com author.
And I'm Naomi Craig. I write historical fiction set in Bible times. We're really excited to welcome back Sara Beth Williams to this show. She's a dear friend of ours. We're in a critique group with her. If you love watching Behind the Story and hearing all of the fantastic new books and the giveaways, we'd love for you to comment below and to subscribe so you don't miss out on a single one. But before we get to Sara, how is your Kickstarter going?
So I did a Kickstarter for my Bachelorettes of Clear Creek series. I had a new novella, and basically got that book out, sent that out to the backers for that, and now I'm doing the special editions. So one of the special editions is the backer has her name as main character. It's also, she's getting a Zoom session with me, and we're going to brainstorm the next story in the series. So that'll
How
be fun.
She did both of those, hey?
Yeah, she's upgraded to so you can do add-ons, and so the add-on was a Zoom session. I only offered one for that. Some people ordered hardbacks or paperbacks, and there's one other backer that she has her name as the main character as well, and she wants that in the paperback version. So yeah, so I'm excited that you are doing a Kickstarter too, Naomi. So you and Donna, so that's really great. I hope I've been influenced. I've been sort of hinting, okay, you guys should do it. I thought, I'm gonna shut up now. They don't want to do the Kickstarter.
Lisa always wins. Let me just say that. So Donna and I just are playing around with, well, not playing around, we're in it, but we're getting ready for our November launch, and we thought, let's see if we can't get this rolling. Because if you're publishing indie, or I guess you could even do it with the publisher as well, but you just there's expenses up front, and so it's we just want to be the best stewards we can. And if you already know that you're going to love the book, then it's basically like a pre-order with special features, and some fun special editions and stuff that won't be offered anywhere else. So Donna and I are really excited to, as we've come up with our tiers, our levels. So love for you to check that out once it's live. So
yeah, and the cool thing, the backers can be a part of the project. They helped it come alive. They get perhaps they ask, or part of the tier, they get mentioned in the acknowledgements. Also they might, so that's in the ebook version, paperback perhaps. Also I'm doing a shout out on Behind the Story for some of my top tier backers, so I hope I say these names right. I haven't actually clarified that. I'm not the greatest at doing names.
But well, you're doing it with an Australian accent, so that makes it all better.
That's my excuse. You get to hear your name in Australian accent, and that version doesn't sound quite right. But anyway, the first one's easy. Natalie Gray, thank you so much for backing my Kickstarter. You're awesome. So these are just some of the top ones that back the high tiers and get an acknowledgement on Behind the Story. I've got more people that were mentioned in the acknowledgements in the actual book. Candle, and I think her surname is Nostroza. It sounds pretty good the way I'm saying it.
I like it. Thank you.
Laurie V. Thank you, Laurie V. And Chiara H. And I also have the lady that's brainstorming with me. It's Clicky. So it's Klike. She is going to have a Zoom session. She's really excited. She's read a couple of my other books already. And she's going to read her version, the book Boyfriends and Lattes, with her name as the main character. So she's going to read that first, and then we're going to get together and have a Zoom session. So that's really cool.
That's fun. That's lots of fun. So, I mean, if you haven't heard of Kickstarter, it's just a way for you to get on board with projects you really love already. If it's an author that you're just already going to buy their book, then why not have your name in that book? So it's just a fun way to get you as the reader involved with the process. So thank you to all of those who who donated, and can't wait to see Lisa's book come out.
It's a lot of authors are doing this, so it's a way to support your authors because they're pre-launching. You get it first. You get the special perks, like Narelle Atkins did a post at how she just backed my novella, but she was an early backer, so I had some early backer bonuses, and she got a bunch of other ebooks of mine for free, sort of. Nice. So her $5 American donation sort of thing pledge, she got like 6 books. So it was pretty awesome. 5 or 6 books I think she got. So that's follow on. We'll have Naomi's and Donna's launch page. You can just follow, you just click notify me on launch, and so when it actually launches, you'll get an email from Kickstarter and you can check out the tiers. And there's also, like, if you just want to support, you can just donate $1. We're not getting a reward. It's just like supporting authors. So even that is just, we welcome that. Give us a tip.
Thank you.
Awesome. Right. Do you want to bring on our guest today?
Yeah, let's bring on Sara. Our guest today is Sara Beth Williams, our good friend. Sara lives in Northern California, enjoys playing the guitar, gardening, reading, spending time with her family. Sara is the token American in the Trinity Lakes series. Sara, welcome to Behind the Story.
Thank you so much for having me back, you guys.
So for those who aren't familiar with you, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you write.
I am a contemporary Christian romance author, and I have 4 books published, and they're all available on Amazon and in Kindle Unlimited. And I love to write stories that evoke as much emotion as possible, and stories about family, familial relationships, and of course with that deep thread of faith.
Well, you definitely get the emotion there. I'm going to testify to that right now. Well, congratulations. Your latest book, No Matter How Far, he ran away to escape his fear. She faces her fear every day. After the death of his late wife, Associate Professor Dylan McKay never thought he'd fall for another woman until the stubborn and beautiful Jocelyn rescues him from a ski slope, though he needed no such rescuing. What's the story behind No Matter How Far?
No Matter How Far is part of a multi-author series that I was invited to with some Australian authors and our wonderful New Zealand author, Iola Bolton. And so it's been really fun. It's a brand new experience for me. I've never done a multi-author series before. So I was really excited to be invited to do it. And it's pretty fun to be collaboratively planning this town of Trinity Lakes. And so from that, basically, I read all the books that were available at the time, all the manuscripts, and mine's the last one in the first year. So in order to prep, I read all the books and kind of made I actually made a map of the town because I'm a very visual person. Yeah. And so I took it upon myself to make a map, and I made it over and over because I'm not that good of an artist. But so once I had a map, then I kind of created more of my own storyline within the town. Some of the books overlap more than others, so kind of some groups of authors choose to overlap with each other, and others don't necessarily, which is fine. I think all of them have a lot of similar anchor settings, and so that was really fun. The town, I think I fell in love with the town so quickly, and then I was really nervous about writing an Australian character, and all of them are like, you don't have to, it's okay, but I want to. I think it's fun. I like a challenge, so it's been a lot of fun.
So what was your main spark for Dylan, for your Aussie character here? What's going on when you're writing him?
I don't remember why I chose to do a professor. I'm not sure. I have a thing for college settings for some reason. My first 3 books were also set in college, but there were students. And so I knew that I wanted Jocelyn to be going to college to become a nurse. And so then I don't know. I don't really remember why I chose the professor, but I thought it was a fun character. I kind of wanted him to be more older. I've written a lot of young characters. Most of my characters are 30 and under in my other books, and so he's like 34, so it's a little older. And I'm a little older now. So I
I
think
was gonna say
so,
34 is not old.
I'm a little older, but you know, than my normal routine of writing. So and I feel like as I'm growing older myself, like, you know, my writing is more mature now. I don't know, subtly, I guess. And um, so I just thought it'd be really fun to write a professor. So, and then he's from Australia, and then I really love missions, and I had another thing that happened was I had another story project that is half written about a guy who went on a missions trip, and he wasn't a professor, but and so I thought that was a fun idea. So I kind of took that story idea and kind of like messed with it a little bit and kind of brought the missional theme into this story.
Yeah, I love that.
That's
And you
good.
don't really see it a lot. Yeah. You don't see it a lot in this genre, so I thought that was cool.
Yeah, awesome. Great. Yeah, well, it's been great to have you on the Trinity Lakes author team. So I'm one of the authors for the first year. So yeah, it's been great having Sara on. She's our person to check all the American terms, you know, our Australian terms, so you actually understand them. So she's really like had to step up, being very gracious to us. Now, back to your story. Introduce us to Jocelyn. What are her strengths and her quirks?
So Jocelyn is a paramedic, and she is athletic. She grew up skiing, and she grew up in Trinity Lakes, so she grew up skiing at the resort up the mountain, and she's very hardworking. And um, when her father died, she decided to become an EMT, and then she became a paramedic, and now she's studying to become a nurse. And so she's really strong in the medical expertise and survival in general. And well, I think it was interesting coming up with quirks because I was like, I don't usually do that when I begin writing, but as I write, they just kind of come out. And so she doesn't like to dress up a lot, and she doesn't wear jewelry because of her career, basically. And she doesn't like to cook a lot. And I thought about that because her brother is a professional chef, so I thought that was kind of funny.
So you've got some great reviews coming in on Amazon. Colleen says, the Jocelyn and Dylan's characters are engaging and bring the reader into their lives. I struggled when they struggled, and I related to their very real question of what was God's best for each of them. This is nothing new. You're kind of known for this depth. So how do you keep this deep, heartfelt emotion for your characters? How do you keep that going as you're writing?
I've been trying to figure that out for like 5 years, I guess. I don't
Not a
even know.
shocker that this is an emotionally deep. If you've read any of Sara's books before, it will not shock you.
I think you know how I started writing so much stuff like that's so deep. Part and I try not to be like long-winded here. I've written a few blog posts about my previous book that came out, which is Anchor My Heart, and I feel like it was a God moment when I began writing this story of Anchor My Heart because I feel like he was preparing me because before that, and even before When Hearts Collide, which also deals with grief, not as much, but I had never experienced a major death in my family or anything like that since I was like 7. And so, and then like in the span of 5 years, I've lost 6 people in my family and my husband's family. And so I feel like God kind of like used this gift of writing to prepare me for the eventual loss of so many people back to back to back to back to back. And then later like I I could take my experiences and kind of like I don't know, beef up the book that was already written, you know, so to make it more real, based on what really happened. So,
Yeah.
same, that's kind of how those books became like so emotional. And I think in general, I'm kind of an emotional person. I have mild anxiety. It's not severe, but it's definitely there. And so that kind of makes me an emotional person sometimes. And my mom was really emotional. I'm pretty sure she was an empath. After she passed away, I really started to look at that, and I was like, that explains so many things about her behavior sometimes. She was a very sensitive person and very emotional, and I think she was an empath. She was just like all the people's emotions were just
Kind
she
of
would
adopt
just
everybody.
suck all their book, yeah. And so I feel like that was definitely how I grew up with that. I'm not that way, but and
No,
that's
but
those are
I think authors have, like, to get to that level, especially if you're not, I think that's like a special gift because you're, I think people can relate to that because you're going so deep. I think for me, when I'm reading your books, it's like, it's so relatable because it's not just like, oh, they're sad for a day and then they're getting better, you know, like, but that's just very relatable with all that.
and that's my other thought too. At the same, well, I was thinking exact same thing. Like my goal when I first began writing, I wanted to have a goal, a theme for myself and my books, and is to write people authentically, write authentic characters experiencing authentic situations. So I usually don't write rich people. No offense, but I don't. And I don't write fake Christian people, because I feel like that's not relatable. And when you're reading Christian fiction, you don't really want to read about people who have it all together because that's not real life. And I feel like people will enjoy your stories more if they can relate to the characters and also find like a hope and redemption story in that same light. Where, I mean, general market authors usually write more authentic characters, but then there's not always a hope or a redemptive
Right.
theme or arc.
If you're watching this tonight, we would love for you to comment in the comments below and let us know a character that you read that was just really authentic and genuine. Comment below and let us know. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, it's great. We want to hear like what makes you read these stories. Do you really love the emotion? I must vouch for Sarah's stories. It's not full of angst and like you know, it's not all negative and all that kind of stuff when we say emotional, but you're just feeling the characters and even the romance. She's just amazing with the romance moments and stuff. It's very swoony and I love her hero. So it has all the feels. We're saying we're not saying that you're going to be bawling your eyes out, whatever, but you're going to be you're going to feel like you're going to come away from the story with an experience.
Yeah,
but it's still the happy ever after, the expectations you have from a romance. So well done on that. Now tell us a bit about your experience. We mentioned before about being in a multi-author series. So anything else you want to share to other authors, you know, if they were going to get involved in a multi-author series? Do you think it will help your reader reach? You know, is it you're learning different things from working in a team, the different authors and what they bring to the team?
I think joining a multi-author series is a good thing if you have people that are flexible and willing to work together. So if you join an author series, be that person that's flexible and willing to work together, because it's really hard to work with somebody who doesn't want to change how they work. Like I've had to be flexible and change things, or like, move things around, or like and we do add sometimes we add in characters from other stories, and you kind of just have to go with the flow a little bit. And it's really helpful to make sure you have time. Make sure that if you go into a multi-author series, that you have the time to commit to reading all the books, because it's really helpful to know what's going on in the story world that you're working in, because if you don't, then you're going to be lost. And I think that it is very helpful to also be willing to like collaborate with ideas and or like have a plan. Because if you as a group you don't have a plan, then it's gonna not work. Your story world is gonna fall apart. So think about like a fantasy author has to build the world. And so even though you might be using a contemporary setting, or maybe you're using a historical setting, you have to build the world around, you have to build
Right.
it. And if you don't build it, then it will be hard to write. So
Yeah.
it's really important to have a plan. Whoever is, if you go into make sure they have a plan. But make sure that, you're flexible.
Yeah, for sure. You want to be the person you enjoy working with. That's really good advice. So which of the characters, no matter how far, did you like the best? Are you
I
allowed
don't
to
know.
say that?
I don't know. I tend to gravitate towards the heroes in my stories a lot. I'm always like, this is my favorite hero every time I write one. So I tend to do that. And I usually come up with the hero first, almost always. It's rare that I don't. And almost every manuscript that I've written that's published and non-published, the story of the guy comes first. I just tend to be, I don't know. So I think Dylan is definitely my favorite. I think it's because he's Australian and Australian accents are amazing. Thank you, Lisa.
Yes,
So
they
fun
are.
to listen to you talk. And
Right.
also listen to Bluey. Bluey is amazing. I love Bluey. It's so fun
Bluey.
listening to Bluey. Which is an Australian, or is it a New Zealand cartoon? I can't remember.
Yola and I will have arguments over these kind of things now. There's a joke between New Zealanders and Australians. It's just, it's like not as bad as Canadians and Americans.
Which one of you claims Bluey? Do you know Bluey?
We've
a
got
lot of
more of an
Australians
argument
I
over
know.
pavlova, the dessert. It's a famous dessert, a meringue dessert. We have more arguments about that.
Oh yeah.
But we did discuss this in our interview with Yola. If you guys want to look through our back a couple of months. Now you've been writing for a while, but this particular series that you're writing in, your process might have changed a bit. So what is your writing process as an author now?
Yeah, this one was definitely different. I wrote both the first book and the second book, which is coming out next year, in like 2 months or something, which is very rare. That's not.
I'm so impressed.
That it's exhausting. I'll tell you that right now. It's exhausting. But it's a good exhaustion. It's like yay, and then it makes me mad that I can't get the third book going because it's taking ages. I'm like, why can't you work? Why are you stalling on me? But usually my writing I prefer to do like a lot of free writing. That's when I open up a story, and I come up with an idea, I usually spend a lot of time free writing until I can't anymore, until it somehow stop. Like I have to do research, which is annoying, but so I free write until I can't do anymore because I have to stop and do something that's necessary for the story. And then after I free write for however long, it could be weeks, it could be days, it could be months. And then depends on how much time I have in life. Right? So how much my life is crazy or not. And then I usually do this time in the last, like, let's see, since 2021, I finally, so I've been writing since 2014 is when I started writing my first novel. And then that one was published in 2018. So I've been writing since 2014. And it took me 5 years or something, 6 years to actually come up with an outline that I actually like that works for me, because I've tried lots of different kinds of outlines. I tried the snowflake method.
Oh yeah.
I tried plotter. I like plotter, but I don't know. It just wasn't. I mean, it's a good idea. It's not bad. I've tried so many different types of outlines and plotting and different kinds of stuff, different kinds of program, and I finally just kind of put all that pieces together on my own, and I made an outline system that I like, and I've been using it and it works. So usually after I free write a bunch of stuff, then I go back and I write up a background for each character, usually the guy first, and usually the girl takes forever to come up with the background. So I usually write the guy background, and then I write the girl background, and then I make an outline from what I have already written down. So then usually the outline changes like much. So that process can take a year. It could take 2 months.
I think that's
Go ahead.
important to find a system that works for you, because like you mentioned the stuff like method and plotter and stuff like that. If you're not connecting to it, it really doesn't click. And then you're like, I should be following these 9 steps, but I can't.
Yeah.
And so then you're like I mean, when I do that, it's kind of like you're bringing on the shame because you're not meeting your goals and stuff. But really, to find something that works for you, I think that's really excellent.
All right. So on a personal note, what's something maybe the readers or people, our viewers, might be surprised to learn about you, Sara?
I'm currently teaching in TK right now, and it's really fun. You can be silly, and you can be energetic, and you don't have to be serious. I mean, sometimes you do, but it's much less like I'm a guest teacher in the past. I've worked with lots of grades, all except for high school. And so every time I go into the upper grades, I feel exhausted because I have to be serious all the time. And then I go into a little kindergarten class. I'm like, yes, I can sing, I can read a book, and I can like watch videos, and I can dance, and I can play with them. I mean, it's so fun.
And take a nap.
I want to, but I can't.
Serious question. If you could pick up a new skill instantly, what would it be?
I would like to not be afraid of water because I would love to go scuba diving, but I am terrified. So, but that would be fun. I would love to go scuba diving. I love the ocean. I love, everything about the ocean except for being on the water.
I tried a bit of snorkeling this year, and it was really great, but I did not like the weight belt when I had to have a weight belt on. It was to try and dive through the caves and stuff. But yeah.
Oh wow.
I felt quite constricted with that kind of stuff. But anyway.
Do you have to take it off when you go above the water? Like, how does that work? That's big senior.
Well, yeah, it sort of can move around and stuff. But when I had to hoist myself back onto the boat, like I was just so hard, and I was so exhausted because it's different to scuba diving. You're like holding your breath when you dive and stuff. So, I had to take it off.
I'd love to learn how to snorkel. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I did see a shark, and that was interesting, but we got the heck out of there. We saw the.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, I love reading about.
I wasn't scared, but anyway,
I love reading about snorkeling and scuba diving. Like, there's been a few books that I've read about that, and or with character, that do that kind of stuff, and it's been really fun.
Well, I actually had written some books with it in, but I haven't really had done it for a long time, like other than a kid. So, and then I finally doing it, and that's how you should really. It's amazing how authors, we can just like come up with this, experience and just be creative, or watch a YouTube video, or we just use our imagination of what it's like. But so you don't have to do everything, but it is helpful if you do have that experience. All right. So tell us what's coming next. You've got this release. You've written book 2. When does book 2 come out?
So I think we're going to be shooting for June. So it should be coming out in June next year. And it is Jake and Audrey, which you don't know who Audrey is because she's in New Zealand. She's from New Zealand. And so that will be their story. And Jake is Jocelyn's brother, and he makes an appearance in this book times.
Excellent. Well, where can the readers find you online, Sara?
Well, I have a website, which is my name.com, sarabethwilliams.com. You can find me there. I'm on almost every social media website, and my website has all the book information that you could possibly want. A press kit if you're interested, and events coming up, which I have 3 local events, which I'm super excited about. That's the most I've done so far, so I'm excited about that.
Awesome. Okay, well, we'll have those links in the show notes. So thank you so much, Sara, for coming back on Behind the Story.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun talking with you guys again. Thank you so much for having me.
So Sarah has a digital ebook copy of No Matter How Far. So the link is in the show notes. And we would love for you to answer our midpoint questions. Naomi, do you want to remind us what they are? Because I always forget.
Yeah, the midpoint question is, I would love to hear a genuine or authentic character from another book that you've just read. Comment below and you'll be entered to win No Matter How Far, and you don't want to miss it. It's an excellent book. As always, Lisa and I have our freebies linked in the show notes as well. If you're here for the historical or biblical fiction community, I have On Desolate Heights, and that is Balaam's story and his talking donkey.
Awesome. And I have a Christian rom-com novella. It's in ebook or audiobook. It's for free on my website, and the link is in the show notes as well. So thanks again for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe, and we have giveaways every week, pretty much every episode, and we've got some upcoming authors. Naomi, do you want to mention what we've got coming up next?
Coming up next, we're excited to welcome Jennifer Mist Morgan, who writes historical romance, and it looks like it's centered in World War II. So you don't want to miss that. But until next time, let us run with endurance the race set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. See you next time.